Hello and welcome to GPL. We are here in round 9 of season 5 and we are witnessing the WEC class today. We're here back in Italy once again for the second time this season at Maggiore. This track is an extremely high-speed track where honestly anything can happen. A lot of the track is flat out, but just barely, so we're gonna see a lot of interesting racing, I think, today. And we are joining here right in the beginning of qualifying. So these guys are just getting started on their prep laps, and we're just joining here with Whiteout, our championship leader in the Drivers' Championship. And we can see who all is here. Of course, we have Illusion here representing for Team EXO AMR. EXO AMR is in first place in the constructors standings. And of course, Nuco here as always. Nuco, our reigning drivers champion from last season, as well as Toyota being the reigning constructors champions from last season. They're in that golden Toyota. And I see we have Pixel in the chat. Too bad we can't have you racing today, Pixel, but Pixel joining us from Japan, and he is being replaced at High Caliber with Artura. And normally joining him would be the owner of High Caliber, Anthony, but he also couldn't make it today, so replacing him today is JD Killswitch, who is racing in WEC for the second time in his GPL career. And a little wobble there from JD Killswitch. Hopefully he wasn't on a fast lap. The very first times are starting to roll in now as they're completing their very first fast laps. And let's see, the fastest time right now seems to be a 27.7 from Nuco. That's actually a really good time. And Pixel in the chat letting us know that he might be back for Suzuka, our finale. And speaking of which, too, this is our penultimate round of the championship, too, so there's only one round after this, so all of these championship fights are really going to start coming to a head here. And the pressure is on for these guys who are in a championship battle. We'll kind of just look down the order and see if it doesn't seem as though Whiteout is going to have a teammate today, so that kind of hurts. That will hurt Spectre Acura in the Constructors' Championship, but also just kind of strategically, it's going to be probably really good if you can have two cars in the fight today, because I don't believe there's going to be a whole lot of strategic variation in this race today, just based on the tire wear data that I've seen and the race distance that we're going to be doing. I believe that these guys are probably going to have to take these tires as far as they could possibly go. So I'm assuming that most of these strategies are going to be similar. Most likely a two-stop. And so it looks like Flaring Ace is just coming into the pits here instead of resetting, probably to take brand new tires, but to keep his fuel low, because when you reset entirely, of course it resets your fuel levels, and so just burning off that tiny bit more fuel will give you just that little bit extra of an advantage. And when you're in a field as fast as these guys are, every 100th of a second matters. So burning off just a little bit of fuel there for the Toyota team is Flaring Aces. And, okay. A little wobbly there for Whiteout as he hit the downhill just before turn 11. Weaving to warm up those tires, get some temperature into him, but it seems he damaged his car on the way, so he sacrificed a good amount of time, probably about 3/4 of a lap worth of time there. That might have cost him an attempt or two worth of time. And Nuco right behind Whiteout too. you gotta wonder if potentially he's gonna let him go ahead and get a little more of a gap, because the dirty air is extremely severe here and it will cost you a lot of race time. So if you're gonna try to get a tow off of a car in front of you, you gotta have be very strategic as to where you try to take that tow. Because everywhere else on the track, especially this little section right here, turn 6 through like 10 is gonna be super bad. Dirty air. Well, it looks like Viper set a really good time. He's up there in P2 now. Viper, of course, racing for Exo AMR today. And the Porsche boy is having a good showing too. D-Goats and Boyta P3 and P4 respectively between the Porsches. Viper on the overtake, so he's on a fast lap right now. Okay, maybe not on a fast lap as he's weaving, getting some temperature into those tires for maximal grip when he starts his fast lap. Going around the extremely high speed banked hairpin of turn 11. Is an extremely exciting corner. That's a very dangerous corner too. If we see two cars go wheel to wheel through there, that'll be very exciting to see if they make it out of there alive. And now he is about to begin his fast lap, so we'll just go on board with him real quick and watch his fast lap from his perspective while I take a second and spread around the link for the live stream and post it to our Instagram and all that stuff. So just bear with me for a moment and I'll be right back. Speaking of which though, feel free to go give us a follow on that Instagram. That is at Grand Prestige League. Oh, and as soon as I look up too, I'm not done with what I'm doing here, but as soon as I look up, I see Viper having an accident there at the exit of turn 11, spinning out and getting damaged, ruining his fast lap. It looked like a pretty good lap for my peripherals. But now we'll just go on board here with Whiteout, who also seems to be on a fast lap, and we'll just watch from his perspective real quick, as any one of these guys is favorites for pole position. And Illusion as well, a guy to watch out for, because he's down there in P7 right now. Perhaps he has yet to set a representative time, because we all know that he is one of the fast mans in this lobby who is capable of getting pole position any given weekend. Okay, thank you for bearing with me. Those links are now posted around, and we got them on the Instagram. And like I said, feel free to go check us out and give that a follow at Grand Prestige League on Instagram. And as soon as I look up, it seems as though the order has changed up a bit, so it looks like I chose the right guy to go on board with, as Whiteout is now the provisional pole sitter by less than 1/10 of a second. And we have, just as I also shouted out, Illusion, one of the fast guys to watch out for here in qualifying, right behind him. And if you look behind him, there's less than 1/10 of a second dividing our top three drivers right now. BS7 shouting out EXO, rooting for an EXO pole position. I believe that's Declan, who was our winner here last week at SWT, so shout out to Declan. And Nuko answers back with a pole position setting lap by over 1/10. An extremely good lap indeed, as we're down into the 27.4s right now. Absolutely lightning speed with these laps. Oh, and D Goat's right up there in the fight too as well. It looks like only 0.02 of a second is separating D Goats and Illusion right now. Illusion back in the pits, looking like he wants to give at least one more good attempt. Unfortunately, from my perspective, I don't get to see how much time is left in the qualifying session at the moment, but I'm assuming that these guys have maybe one or two good push attempts remaining. So P4, P5 at the moment for EXO AMR, and that's not what they would be hoping for, given their constructor championship aspirations here. But luckily, they are still in a great position overall as far as the standings go. But being that this track is an extremely high-speed circuit, it requires a lot of downforce. It's really hard to overtake here. Now, there's not any lack of overtaking opportunities. The track itself is very, you can overtake here for sure. But the problem with overtaking is closing in. Because as you close in, as I mentioned earlier, the dirty air is so severe that it's really hard to close the distance to the leading car. You have to be very opportunistic in order to get a clean overtake done around here. And the longer you do fall around in dirty air, damages those tires, and tire wear is extremely important here. Despite the fact that these guys are likely going to have to run their tires as far as they'll probably go in race trim, they'll still have to manage at least a bit. Illusion getting a little wide there, touching that horizontal sausage curb that is oh so conveniently placed. And it looks like that might have ruined his lap right at the exit of the very final corner. Unless, of course, that was just a setup lap. Actually, it was. Okay, so maybe he compromised. Yeah, I think he aborted this lap. Oh, maybe not. He's back on his overtake. He had a bit of a wobble out there, and just the kind of looseness from how he crossed the line to begin the lap. I don't think this is going to be an ideal push lap for Illusion here. But we'll see how it turns out, because he's still on that overtake, so he's not giving up on this attempt. Oh, and it does say final lap right now, so this is his final opportunity to cross the line with a decent time, so he will have to really get this perfect if he wants to improve his position from here. He might be able to get past D-Goats if he can just improve upon his own time by any amount at all. That should put him into P3. Using every centimeter of the track that is possibly available to him. And that was a good exit there. And he crosses the line, and see if he can improve. It doesn't seem he can, about 0.3 down. So, yeah, not a perfect lap. Unfortunately for him, not ideal. It seems a lot of these guys are on cool-down laps, having finished their session or chilling in the pits right now. So this session seems to be over. We'll see if we have anyone else on a flyer Nope, everyone is completed their session now, so qualifying is now done. This is your starting order for the grid. All right, so that concludes our qualifying session, and here are the results of that. Of course, Whiteout on pole position with a 127.409. Absolutely incredible time. And then, of course, we have Nuco, Viper, D-Goats, Illusion, Boita, Flaring Aces, JD Killswitch, and Exo Atur. And so, a good qualifying session. It was close. We had a lot of jumbling up of the order as time went on, so that was a good session there. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, never mind. I thought I read something wrong. All right, and so these guys are going to be switching the session over to the race settings now, and in doing so, as you see, Nuco's giving them a little bit of time here because they have to set up their car. As I remind you guys, this league this season is running BOP with limited tuning options, so when the session switches over, it resets their tune. They have to go back in and set up their tune once again. And so I will be back in just a moment as I post the pole position graphic to the league's Instagram page. Once again, go give that a follow. That is at Grand Prestige League. And while you're here, if you're watching, I need you to give this channel a like and subscribe as well, as we will be back here every week until the end of the season. And we are nearing the end of the season, so the championship battle is ramping up and the pressure is on. All right, just in time. As soon as I look up, the race is beginning. All right, Whiteout on pole position from Nuco in P2 on the front row. Turn 1 and 2 is going to be extremely important here. A lot of track position can be gained or lost here. Now the lights are on, and they are off. And the race is on. Big bunching up in the midfield there as Whiteout slips right ahead into P1 pretty easily. Looks like, oh, we got a big crash here from Nuco. Okay, Whiteout P1, Viper P2, and Illusion P3. Good moves from the Exo cars here. D-Goats in P4. Man, there were so many cars into T1 there. There wasn't really too good of a view to see exactly what happened there. Checking for damage up and down. It doesn't seem anyone actually has damage, not even Nuco. So Nuco actually getting really lucky to not have damage. I mean, he is in last place right now, unfortunately, but as he mentioned just before we started this race, damage is on heavy, which means it is permanent. So if you take any damage, you have to go into the pits in order to repair it, and a lap 1 pit stop would not be ideal. as I'm sure you can imagine. So moving back up the grid here, just seeing how these positions are shaking out. Oh, and we got another Toyota off the road. Not a good day for Toyota already as we begin. Now we have flaring aces into the wall, and that probably will be damaged. Absolutely. So it's not too bad. It's only front wing damage. The front wing extremely important here as it's such a high-speed circuit. But at least he doesn't have suspension damage. But being that it's the very beginning of the race, he's going to lose so much time if he carries that damage with him for any decent amount of time. So he is going to want to probably pit immediately to fix that damage. Yeah, rough stuff for Toyota there. And a really good start here from the Exo AMR cars, as these Aston Martins are 2-3 right now, just behind Whiteout. Whiteout getting a little bit into the dirt there, but just using all of the track that he has at his disposal. Once again, they're setting up that corner by dipping a couple tires just off the road into the grass. And now Whiteout is in, of course, the optimal position because clean air is going to be extremely important here. As I mentioned in qualifying, there are plenty of opportunities to overtake on the track itself, but closing in is the hard part because that dirty air is so severe. So Viper here in the dirty air of Whiteout, not going to be able to optimize his line, might have to lift a slight amount into turn 6, whereas otherwise he would want to be flat out just because of that wake from Whiteout. Very exciting stuff on lap 1 though. We'll see if we have any battles going on here. Artura under a lot of pressure immediately as he goes a little bit wide, and that might be a track limit penalty. It might not though if he lifted. Yeah, he was under a lot of pressure there, but see, that is a really good example of just how severe the dirty air is. Nuco, on paper, should have had all the advantage in the world going into that last set of corners there, but just the dirty air allowed Artura to create another gap where he is now a little bit more comfortable from Nuco. But now here's a little straight here where Nuco can get into the toe. And it is lap 3 now, so overtake is now permitted for use as he uses just a tiny bit out of the exits of turn 4. And right here is turn 6, and see, he had to lift a little bit, whereas otherwise that would be a flat out corner for Nuco every time. And he's on the overtake to set up this long straight here. This is one of the best opportunities he's going to have all track long to overtake. And he gets ahead just before. We'll see if Artura fights back, and he does. A touch of the dirt a little bit there. But they're both in it, and Artura is fighting back in the slipstream. Oh, and he gets into a little bit of dirt. He has dirty tires now, so this is going to hurt him into these high traction corners as we see Nuco just kind of increasing his gap there. Nonetheless, a good fight there from El Churro. Looking back up at the front of the grid here, same order, about the same gaps. Oh, but something must have happened with Illusion. It looked like he was squirrely or slow to get back going there. Something must have happened as the Goats gets ahead now into that podium position. Illusion not too far behind, but a lot farther behind than he was and would have been. So he definitely made a mistake, or an incident happened. I'm guessing a mistake. It's very easy to slip up here, as especially when you go into these corners, you are on the maximum limit of what these tires are able to give you as far as grip. And now Illusion on his overtake just a little bit to try to recover some of the pace that he lost there as he sets a purple sector. The Goats, of course, an extremely consistent, solid driver, always in the fight. The type of driver that's always just right there in the hunt, so anytime you give him an opportunity, he will take full advantage of that opportunity. capitalize. Just as we saw a couple weeks ago at Daytona, where D Goats actually crossed the line just ahead of Whiteout in a photo finish. And Boita looks like he might have gone a little bit wide there, but still well within the track limits and maximizing his exit there. Viper P2, both Whiteout and Viper having solid race pace here. I wonder if this is the natural gaps or if Viper just eased off a little bit as to get a little bit less of that dirty air, especially through this sector here. These probably are natural gaps, if I had to guess. And illusion about a little over 2.5. Just under 3 seconds off of the back of D-Goat's car as he is trying to make up for lost ground here. Still in an improved position from where he qualified, however, on the back foot at the moment. And now that we are on lap 5, we can start to see the progression of these guys' tire wear. Tire wear is going to be extremely important in this race today. And it looks like the wear patterns are very similar going all the way down the field. Boita having a little bit better wear than the top few guys. Nuco actually having really good wear as well. Nuco not known for having good tire wear, but he has a bit better wear than the top runners, even despite making that mistake in the beginning. Oh, he is on the medium. Okay, I just noticed that. So Nuco starting on the medium. The high caliber cars both on softs, flaring aces on not as heavily worn softs. I just assumed everyone would be on soft, so let me see again now. Everyone in the top handful of cars here, the top 5, all on softs. Nuco already up into P6 on the medium, so really Nuco is the only car on the track on the mediums, so he is on a completely different strategy, and given the fact that he's kind of running his own race just in P6, kind of no man's land at the moment, there might be a possibility that his stint order can benefit him very well later down the line, especially as he's going to finish this race on the soft tire, and there's a chance that these guys are going to be finishing on mediums potentially. So perhaps a late charge from Nuco might be on the cards. Strategy is always important in these races, especially when the margins are so close. And with this race distance being so much longer than the SWT class's version of this race, that kind of limits the amount of strategic variation I think we're going to see. In SWT, we ran, I think, 26 laps or so, around there. And it was a pretty much a for sure 2-stop, but there were a couple of cars that did manage to do a very impressive 1-stop, but just barely. And so with this race distance of 39 laps, a 1-stop is definitely not going to be possible for these guys. And in fact, I think a 2-stop, you really have to use all of the tire and kind of be careful with them and manage them nicely as you're running this race distance on a 2-stop. So we might even see the odd 3-stop in here, especially if someone makes a mistake or gets damaged or overcooks their tires. Then it might be more viable to switch to a super aggressive 3-stop where you just maximize softs and minimize your minimum running or medium running. However, I'm pretty sure that most of these guys, barring a weird mistake, are going to be on a 2-stop, pretty similar 2-stop at that, especially given that everyone, barring Nuco, has started on the soft tire. And Boita doing a great job as well with his race pace. Also kind of just in no man's land running his own race, but at the moment, you know, that's not something to complain about, as he has clean air all to himself, big gaps in front and behind, so Boita gets to just focus on having a high average and a solid race pace, and it seems as though he is doing his job. Pretty good race pace. And Nuko in the pits already. It's only lap 7. Oh, it's because he has damage, so Nuko with a mistake. Wonder what happened there. Yeah, Nuko having suspension damage and front wing damage. So he must have hit a wall. Man, unfortunate for Nuko. So that kind of hurts his chances of that late charge, although I think we might be seeing kind of what I was talking about with the super aggressive 3-stop, as he only did 7 laps on those mediums, and the softs definitely don't last very long. I'm guessing maybe 10 laps on high fuel. So as the fuel starts going down, you might be able to eke out another 1 or 2 laps, but you're not going to get much more than 10 laps out of each softs set. So based on that, I think we're going to see a very aggressive another couple of stops here on the soft tire from Nuko, as he's going to be charging up the field as much as he possibly can. And just in front of him is his teammate, Flaring Aces. The 2 Toyotas in the back, the reigning Constructors champions, are P last, and a shocker. And then just ahead of them are the 2 high caliber cars. JD Killswitch hanging in there, holding his own, as these tires are starting to actually get pretty severely worn. As we can see, the tire wear, once they hit around 50%, it ramps up very significantly. Although we can see these 2 guys, the high caliber cars wear is a bit more severe. Once we bump up to Boita here, his wear is actually really good. So this is another benefit of just having that clean air and big gaps in front and behind, where you don't have to worry about other cars around you. You can manage those tires a lot better. There's a couple of corners here where you don't have to worry about battling or traffic or pressure behind, managing gaps, but you can really save a lot of tire just by a slight extra lift, especially into turn 14. This is another corner here, this very high speed hairpin of turn 6. Or is that? No, that's turn 11. Very high wear there, but the highest wear on the whole circuit is coming up, and that is turn 14, right here. As you can see, get a bit red, but not super red, so it does seem Boita doing a very good job at managing those tires. Especially we can see, we move over to Illusion here, his tires are a little bit worse off than Boita. D-Goat's in a similar situation, but slightly better. D-Goat's having used a bit more of his overtake there, he is under 3/4 now. And just another touch of the overtake, as he can see Illusion closing in on him. So he is definitely managing that gap. He wants to keep that gap at a manageable pace where he's not under too much pressure from Illusion behind. But it looks like Illusion is closing in as he is pushing those tires. And flat out through there, the dirty air not seeming to affect him quite yet. And that's good. That's the ideal place where you don't want dirty air. And he managed to be just outside of dirty air with that. Now we got a big downhill straight here where you can get a bit of slipstream. It seems like he might have been just out of range to get any benefit of the slipstream. If he can maintain this pace, then relative to D-Goats, then he might be able to close in for slipstream by that point next lap. However, we are at the point in tire wear now where I'm not sure he will be able to maintain this pace. We are starting to approach the pit window for these cars now. Oh, and a big oh, never mind. Sorry, it was a bit of lag. It made me think it was a slip, but it was just a pit stop. He swerved over to the pits. And so Viper and D-Goats both in the pits on lap 10. Gonna switch their softs out, and we'll see what they switch to. We won't be able to see until they exit the pits exactly what tire they're on. Oh, Viper, oh no. So it seems as Viper crossed the line either on pit entry or pit exit. But it is the soft tire for Viper and a slip on the tiny straight there, as these tires are ice cold at the moment. it's going to take about a lap or two to warm these tires up. So they got to be very careful to ease these tires up to temperature. Because while they are cold now and you want them to get to the optimal temperature window, you don't want to get them to that window too quickly. You want to ease them in to the temperature window on this track especially. If you cook the tires too much too quickly, then your rate of wear will ramp up. So Illusion choosing to go long and extend for at least one more lap, and we'll see if that hurts him in his overall race time, as I'm sure these tires are dropped off now as far as their performance and grip levels. And now Whiteout rounding the final corner. Whiteout going into the pits, and I'm sure Illusion going around the final corner is probably going to cover that off, but he might extend just to take track position, and he does. So, not ideal for the tire situation. However, track position is the most important thing here. He's going to have to be careful. Whiteout is going to be undercutting him at the moment. This entire lap is going to be advantage for Whiteout, as he will have the pace over Illusion on his heavily worn tires, but Illusion opting to take the track position. And as we can see, that is bearing out in the stint order that these drivers are choosing to use, prioritizing soft and soft in the beginning so that they can get as much track position as possible. There are other circuits where you can take the soft tire on the final stint and have a really light, agile, grippy car and attack very aggressively with that car in that condition at the end of the race. But as you can see, these guys here definitely prioritizing track position immediately, and will probably all be on the mediums at the end. I think medium tire at the end on a track like this, where the slipperiness does increase a little bit, would be a slight disadvantage. You might be weak to an attacking car finishing on the soft tire, but it seems as though pretty much everyone is going to be finishing on the mediums, so that will nullify itself out. And we have Illusion from first place coming into the pits now. Let's take a new set of softs. Oh, he's actually on the mediums. Very interesting. So Illusion switching up the strategy. And it's probably a good thing too, because we have two EXO AMR cars kind of at different, running kind of different races at the moment. And so mixing up the strategy between these two cars just to give themselves the most possible opportunities for at least one of those cars to take big advantage of some sort of strategic window that opens up on the when they pit for the final stints. And we have Viper closing in on the bumper of Boita, and he wants that position, and I think he's going to get it here. This is the perfect place to take it, and he is ahead before the hairpin, slotting his car just in front of Boita's, ever so slightly before the braking point, just so that he didn't think about trying to overtake him back on around the outside. Very, very smart car placement there from Viper, making his car as wide as possible, kind of just getting in the way enough, but not too much as to block the car behind. So very, very good car placement there from Viper. Impressive stuff. And now Boita under pressure from his own teammate here, but they're on the start-finish. Oh my goodness gracious, sorry. I think that was another lag. The lag shows us stuff that is more exciting oftentimes than what actually happens. A few rounds ago we had someone take flight driving over a cone, but that didn't actually happen. And here we have Boita running directly into the wall, but not actually. It actually scared me. I'm not going to lie to you. That was a genuine jump scare from me. As we know, especially when the tires get worn, this game does double as a horror game. Boita coming out of the pits in P5, just in front of Nuco, who is going to be charging on a used set of softs. So we got Boita on brand new mediums versus Nuco on worn softs. Now they're not too severely worn. Nuco's soft tires are going to be in a working window where he can still get plenty of grip, and it looks like he is going to be hustling Boita all the way down. Not quite close enough to make a move here, so he's going to have to wait a little while before he can make something happen there. So checking out the kind of just the positions around the grid here. Okay, and we got Flaring Aces putting the pressure on Atura as well, on the overtake as well, going downhill. This is one of the best opportunities to overtake. Once again, Atura just losing out from being forced around the outside of that hairpin, but he's not giving this up. Once again, fighting back, and he's on the overtake. They're both on the overtake. And now that's an extremely unfortunate place to be behind the car there. As soon as you turn in there on turn 14, you're going to go wide, basically, if you're the guy behind. The only way you're not going to go wide pretty severely... Oh, and he goes over the curb, too, taking a little bit of air time. But the only way into turn 14, if you're the following car, that you're not going to go wide is if you lift, like, to a very compromising degree. So either way, you're going to lose out if you're not ahead by the time you hit turn 14. That is why that turn 11 hairpin is such an important overtaking point, not only because it's one of the best points to overtake, but because it sets you up better for the rest of the track. Pixel thinking Atura is being a little too aggressive, and potentially there. And now he's in the grass a little bit, so maybe over pushing on those tires. Yeah, I think you're right. This is probably just over pushing a bit, not wanting to be overtaken, wanting to try to fight that back. We all know Atura is a fighter, and never satisfied until he can get better and better and better positions. Nuco. Okay. Unfortunate race for Nuco. I don't know what happened there. We always miss it when something happens to Nuco. Nuco having damage once more, both the front suspensions on the left and the right, as well as front wing damage. So he's going to be crawling around this track right now. He's probably going to want to jump immediately into the pits. As he does jump immediately into the pits, giving that position right back to his teammate, Flaring Aces, who is now up into P6. And he also has good race pace. It seems just kind of out of position at the moment, with a big gap ahead, about 20 seconds up there to Boita in P5. So Boita probably feeling very comfortable. Once again, he did have a little bit of traffic there for a minute, but now right back to his comfortable spot of having big gaps in front and behind where he can just run his own race in clean air, focus on tire management and race pace. A luxury position to be in, to be honest. And we got Illusion on the medium, so we do want to keep track of how these medium tires are going to be progressing compared to the front runners on the softs. Now the mediums, of course, lacking a little bit of grip compared to the softs, but most of the track should still be flat out in the areas where it's like kind of touchy if it's flat out or if you have to do a slight lift. The mediums in clean air should be able to do those sets of corners flat out as well. And so I'm expecting to see about 7 or 8 tenths of a second slower per lap from the medium tire. And we'll see if he has to lift here at all. And maybe about a 10% lift, 15% lift. So he did lift a little bit. I don't think he actually had to lift. I think it was just for kind of, just for overall race pace and safety and stability. Just an ever so slight lift, just to keep everything in order there. No need to over push at the moment, as he is just, on the medium stint. So running his own stint. also having big gaps in front and behind, so not too much to play for there, just keeping a high average. And we're back on board here with Viper to see how he's progressing. A 4-second, exactly the same 4.6 second gap in front and behind from P1 and P3. I'm checking out D Goats, seeing how his tires are doing. Okay, all these top three guys have their very similar tire wear on that soft tire. And we're checking out Whiteout here in the lead in P1 with a comfortable gap. As we can see Viper just in the background there, that puts into perspective just how big of a gap 4.5 seconds actually is on a track that's this high speed. It is a pretty big gap. And for those of you tuning in, feel free to let us know in the chat if there is a team or a driver that you guys are rooting for, as there's everything to play for in this round. We're in the penultimate round of the championship, and it is a tight championship battle. Of course, we have Whiteout leading the drivers' standings. I think that one is actually a bit more of a comfortable lead in the driver's standings. It looks like unless Whiteout has a complete stinker within the next two rounds, he's probably going to secure that driver's championship. But it is not over. There are other drivers that are mathematically within range to still take it potentially. But Whiteout, the clear favorite to win that championship, especially from this position as he is in P1 right now. So Viper actually closing in a bit here. The gap's starting to come down slightly, so Viper seems to be the man with pace on track at the moment. He also has the fastest lap of the race with a 29.6 in race trim with like 50% fuel, so that's actually an insane lap time. Viper is pushing. Exactly, as Boita points out, Whiteout last season was in the lead of the Drivers' Championship, much like how he is now. Looked like the comfortable favorite to win the championship. That had one round where he DNF'd, and that was all that Nuco needed to secure the championship at the very final round. So it's never over until it's over. And King pointing out that Whiteout with a victory could potentially seal that championship today. I haven't done the math on that myself, so I'm not exactly positive, but I'll take his word for it. So an actual championship at play right now for Whiteout. And that gap was coming down a bit, but it seemed to have stabilized with Viper here. So Viper maintaining pace relative to Whiteout, and it seems still we have backmark traffic approaching now, so this could play a factor too, depending on how clean the blue flagged car gets out of the way, or where on the track the blue flag is happening, because you wouldn't want to have to try to get around a blue flag when you're in the high speed sections. That's a good place for him to get by. I don't think that lost him any time at all. In the next handful of corners, though, if he was behind some lap traffic, that would have cost him a ton of time just from dirty air. Going extremely wide to set up these turn fives are these top guys, going all the way off into the grass to set that corner up. And now these tires are getting worn pretty good. There does seem to be a handful of laps left in it for Viper. Whiteout's tire wear just a bit better off. Although, if we look at the overtake situation here, of course, being in the luxury position that P1 affords you, you don't have to use any overtake unless and until you are under pressure. So it seems as though Whiteout is saving as much of his overtake as possible, I'm guessing, so that he can use all of it on one lap and go for a fastest lap attempt for an extra championship point. And Viper on his overtake right now, trying to close that gap. Right now, he has used the majority of his overtake, so he will not be in a position to go for the fastest lap if Whiteout takes it from him. Although he is holding fastest lap at the moment. And just checking in here a little farther back, we have D-Goats, who also has slight better tire wear. And Illusion, still rocking those medium tires, doing its thing. The medium tires seem to be progressing very well as far as their wear. I believe he pitted on lap 12, 11, or 12. And so these tires are maybe a little over 10 laps old now, or just under 10 laps. And they are holding on very, very nicely. Alright, so gonna take a look down the grid. Boita, another example of some mediums that are just pristine condition mediums there. Flaring Aces with extremely worn softs. Nuco in the back on mediums. Interesting from Nuco to put the mediums back on. Perhaps he just wants to go long now at this point. Maybe he can make up a couple of positions there. If he can go long and overtake someone in the pits potentially, and they have to take an extra pit stop, maybe he thinks that medium tire can last him until the end of the race. So that actually might have been a smart move, rather than to take more sets of softs and go ultra aggressive. So that final bit of damage that he took might have actually been, and it's never a good time to take damage, but if you're going to take damage, at least he might have had damage in a window where he can strategically change it up and not lose out too much. And we have a pit stop here, speaking of strategy. It's from damage. So Artura making a mistake, likely all on his own. And he had a little bit of suspension damage and front wing damage. And we'll see what he does with the tire. Doesn't change the tires at all, only coming into the pits to fix the damage, as he is on brand new mediums still. So no need to really change the tire at this point. So very unfortunate window. That's kind of the opposite of what I was explaining for Nuco. Probably the worst possible window to take damage and have to repair it is right after you've already pitted. You get no advantage whatsoever from changing the strategy up, as you've already committed to the tire you're on, and you just basically have to eat an extra 16 seconds in the pits or so, and carrying an additional 3-second penalty for crossing a pit line either on entry or exit of that pit lane. And JD Killswitch running a very consistent pace at the moment. Very consistent pace, just running his own race, going a little bit wide right there, but right there, perfectly acceptable to go wide there. It's probably the best place to go wide if you're gonna go wide, because you don't lose too much time as long as you commit to going wide once you realize you are going wide. But his tires are quite a bit worse off. He will probably be thinking of taking a pit stop here soon. Checking out what's going on up here ahead, we got Flaring Aces and Nuco. And just as I predicted, we have Flaring Aces who just took a pit stop for a brand new set of softs. And that allowed Nuco, who just went off, unfortunately, into the dirt there. That kind of... Alright, so once again, any strategic advantage that he gained by switching to the mediums and overtaking his teammate in the pits, he just lost by going into the dirt there. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like anything's going Nuco's way today, which is too bad, because he definitely could have been up there fighting for the win, potentially, at least a podium for sure, as he's always up there fighting for podiums. Yeah, a lot of pit stops happening now. We are in a pit window for a lot of these cars. Now, JD Killswitch coming into the pits, going to switch away from those softs. I believe he took 2 sets of softs in a row, so this should be the medium right now. And indeed, he is on the medium tire. So, a lot of these guys now, as predicted early on in the beginning, just because track position is so important that these guys prioritize with soft sets early. A lot of these guys now ending their race, pretty much every single car. Yeah, every single car barring Flaring Aces is on the medium. And as these guys are mostly on brand new mediums too, the mediums already lacking a bit of grip compared to the softs are also very cold at the moment and take a little bit longer to warm up. So we'll have to kind of watch out for some slipping here. As we have the two teammates here, EXO AMR, as it seems that Illusion had overtaken Viper in the pits. And now they're both on mediums. Illusion on about 50% worn mediums. They're still in good shape, but they're going to start maybe falling off in the next handful of laps. And we got Viper on brand new mediums just behind him, probably going to take a little bit of detriment from the dirty air of his teammate just ahead, but maybe they can work together and give tows. Not exactly sure who is in the better position at the moment. Of course, being that Illusion has yet to pit for his final set of soft tires, that means that Viper has net position on track. So Viper is net P2. And so ideally, since Viper has net position, Illusion probably doesn't want to cost his teammate too much time in his dirty air. If anything, they might want to think about inversing these cars just to not cost Viper, who has net position, too much time here on track. That's what I would think about, at least at this point in time, if I was in an EXO AMR car, able to give these guys advice on that. But, of course, they both have extremely good pace at the moment, so it's up to them. Seems Viper using the last bit of his overtake here to overtake his teammate. We'll see if they do it clean. We'll see if it's nice and cooperative. It seems to be. As we see Illusion using every single centimeter of the track available to him, as he had about half of his tire just barely touch the dirt there and get his tires a little dirty, but they're clean again already. And that's where you got to be careful of the dirty air severely. So it does seem that Illusion compromised his entry there to make sure that he didn't make a big mistake. Very smart of him. Cost him a little bit of time on the final few corners, but well worth it. You know, to live to see another day, as they say. Now we're checking on D-Goats here. Now the gaps are very important to manage the gaps here when you are in a pit window, as the brand new medium runners behind Illusion are potentially undercutting him a bit, because I'm sure the brand new mediums have a bit more pace than his worn mediums, as these guys' new mediums are starting to get up to temperature. The time lost in the pits is about 16 seconds, and so we're gonna want to keep a close eye on these gaps here. So 6 seconds is the gap to D-Goats. So if Illusion were to pit now, he would lose that position to D-Goats, and then an additional 14 seconds behind D-Goats is Boita. So he would come out behind D-Goats but ahead of Boita. I believe Illusion is the final car yet to pit now for the final time. Now the gap, once again, from P2 to P1, still very stabilized, but still decreasing just little by little by little. Now, you gotta wonder too if that's Whiteout intentionally managing a bit more, because he has the luxury to manage a bit more than Viper does. Viper probably pushing a bit harder to try to close in, whereas Whiteout can just take care of his tires and not worry too much about it, because as soon as Viper starts to close in, Viper has no overtake. Whiteout has all of his overtake, and he will be giving Viper dirty air as well. So all of the advantage in the world right now sits in the hands of Whiteout, who is managing this race from the lead beautifully, as he does, as he gets past lap traffic here. And this is kind of the bad place for blue flags to be for Viper. However, yeah, just outside of the dirty air range, I think, so it's not going to affect him too badly here. Yeah, he's definitely out of range. So we'll see where the lap traffic comes into play for Viper. Hopefully it doesn't play a role. You always hate to see that if a blue flag car unintentionally plays a very large role in how the race result ends up, but I don't think it will, as these guys are really good about blue flags and respecting the race protocol there. As we can see, blue flags now being shown for JD Killswitch in that high caliber. Yeah, and Illusion doing his pit stop now on a brand new set of mediums. Now we'll see what he can do, as everyone else on the grid is on the mediums, whereas Illusion is on soft, and so he will probably be the man on the track with the most pace. So if anything, despite the fact that Whiteout also saved up a lot of his overtake for any potential scenario that crops up at the end of the race or a fastest lap attempt, it actually seems to me now like Illusion is in the best position to go for a fastest lap attempt, as he still has 3/4 of his overtake and brand new soft tires with a car that is now pretty low on fuel. So this car is going to come alive now in this final stint for Illusion. I found when I was testing these cars that if you can use the soft tire on the final stint when this car is at its lightest, it really, really does come alive. It's extremely agile and confident. Illusion just using a bit, little touches of the overtake on the exits and stuff. It doesn't look like he's really pushing for a fast lap right here, and even with overtake being used, a 29.6 is an incredibly fast lap from Viper. It will be hard to take the fastest lap from him, even with full overtake utilization. Now kind of just looking up and down the grid here, checking on the gaps, checking how the tires and overtake situations are. Yeah, Digo's doing a good job using a bit of his overtake, as well as now, even if there's no traffic in front or behind to worry about, you got overtake, you might as well use all of it before the end of the race. Okay, King No Skill in the comments pointing out that Whiteout has achieved a 29.4 with high fuel in practice, but also points out that the wind was more optimal in that session than it is currently as well. So there definitely is potential for the fastest lap to be taken at this stage especially. A formidable lap nonetheless, with that 29.6 being held for a very long time by Viper at this point in the race. Oh, I saw a bit of dirt get kicked up in front of Viper there. Maybe, oh yeah, definitely. The wide exits of Whiteout is to blame for the dirt I saw on screen. Whiteout always using the very, very most amount of track that he has at his disposal. And we can see Viper in the background too, lurking, hoping to close this gap down now. He's going to need to start pushing now as we're entering the final stages of this Grand Prix. 9 laps left. 4 seconds is the gap, and the gap has been about 4 seconds for a very long time now. I believe Viper getting the message as now the gap is about stabilized. Still. Yeah, Viper gonna need to give it everything he's got at this point if he wants to close that, especially given that Whiteout has all of his overtake. I believe he's used a little bit of it now since last time I looked, but yeah, still a ton of overtake left for Whiteout. He is in the most comfortable, optimal position you could possibly hope for at this stage in the race. Clean air and track position. Now looking to the back, we have Artura just holding on, running his own race. And a track. Of course, I gotta look at him as soon as he gets track limit. I'll take the blame for that. I'll call that commentator's curse, so that's my bad. And we are on board now with JD Killswitch using a bit of his overtake, but being shown the blue flags once again, now this time for Illusion behind in the XO AMR. That Aston Martin with the pace going crazy on the soft tire at the moment. Now, this game does show you blue flags pretty prematurely, like really, really early on, so I would say when it is showing you blue flags, that doesn't necessarily mean, okay, I have to move right now, but I do like that it gives you a good amount of prior notice. Hey, there is a lead car behind. Be prepared to get out of the way, as JD Killswitch did very nicely, very respectfully there on the start-finish straight, picking a perfect time to get out of the way, as so not to affect these guys' race ahead. Very good indeed. Very consistent running there from JD Killswitch. And here we got Nuco, who, yeah, taking a look at these tires now, they're getting pretty worn. It will be a stretch if he can make these last to the very end of the race now. Nuco actually in a pretty not great position tire-wise. So he's probably going to be limping around this track by the end. Yeah, okay, so he goes right into the pits. I think he knew that if he tried to hold on to these tires until the end of the race, that he was going to be in big trouble. Now, there is a huge gap behind him, so he's not going to lose any track position whatsoever. He had nothing to gain or lose from, you know, crawling around on those worn mediums. Although blue flags being shown now for Nuco, we got two cars that are blue flagged in the way, getting in the way of Whiteout here. Whiteout gets past clean, and now that problem is now Viper's problem, as he now has two lapped cars ahead of him. JD also with a good spot to get aside. Very good spot, indeed, to move over. Now, we'll see where Nuco is, because now Nuco, if Viper approaches, is technically lap traffic, but we do know that Nuco has pace that he might not need to get aside, especially given that I'm assuming, yep, he is on the soft tire too, so there might not be any blue flags that are going to be shown to Nuco here. And it looks like with the soft tire, Nuco is closing in on Whiteout, who's on the mediums. Now, this is a very interesting situation here, because as a lapped car, Nuco does have the right to unlap himself. If he has pace on track, he can unlap himself and overtake Whiteout. But as lap traffic, it's really risky as far as like legality wise, because you don't want to battle with a lead car and cost them a whole bunch of time on track. That will almost certainly give you a penalty. But at the same time, if you can make an overtake happen clean, you have every right to do that. So we'll see how much he tries to hustle Whiteout here, as he is putting a little bit of pressure on Whiteout. Even though this is not his race, perhaps a race for pride at this point in time for Nuco. And unfortunately, the strong pace of Nuco might actually cost Viper too. If Viper closes in on Nuco, then that means that Viper will be getting a heap of dirty air from Nuco. And as a lapped car, that will be unfortunate for Viper's chances to close up. Definitely hurts him. And now all of these guys using up their overtake now. Boyd's on a brand new set of soft tires and on the overtake, so Boita going for a fast one. And it seems as though Illusion does have the fastest lap at the moment. It doesn't seem like he really had to use too much overtake to get it done either. Those soft tires are very pacey on low fuel loads. Risking it for the biscuit now, as Illusion is pushing it on the exit there of turn 11. Turn 11 is a scary one. It is an extremely tight hairpin, but it is so banked that you can carry not quite all, but like a ton of momentum into that. It's a deceptive corner. Got to get the line just right through there, and if you do, it will launch you out of the exit. And if you get it just wrong, it will put you in the dirt. And it looks like Illusion just flirting with the line, the very edge of what his car was able to give him. And now he is closed in on D Goats. D Goats, who is on mediums at about the same level of wear, using his overtake to try to not allow Illusion to close in. But Illusion, of course, fastest man on the track at the moment with the fastest lap of the race, plus a lot of overtake, plus the tire advantage. So it looks on paper like this is a matter of time for Illusion to take this position here, but of course, as I always mention, the dirty air is such a big factor here that it is extremely difficult to close in, especially right there. But on the overtake, it does seem he's close enough on the straight here going down the hill to close in on D Goats, as D Goats swerving left and right to try to break the toe. Did a good job. It definitely seemed to cost him, but he's right back in that slipstream. He's going to want to get ahead before the next turn 14 here. Going to want to be ahead here. This is a tricky spot to go wheel to wheel. We'll see who wins out here. Very impressive, the fact that they both kept it clean there. That's extremely impressive, as Illusion just managed to slip ahead and take the position. And now D Goat's getting a heap of dirty air on the final corner there. As you can see, the gap already noticeable. What a move there. What absolute bravery on display there. And now Illusion up into the podium position. And once again, this seems like a scenario where it is a win-win for kind of everyone involved if the race finishes like this, because Whiteout for the Drivers' Championship, quite possibly securing it with a victory here. So he'll be very happy to be the Drivers' Champion, and a 2-3 double podium for EXO AMR will be incredible for their Constructors' Championship. And given that Whiteout doesn't have a teammate today, that actually might secure the Constructors' Championship as well for EXO AMR. I'm not sure. I have not done the math on that, so I am not positive, but it seems like a very distinct possibility, as we see Illusion here just using up the rest of his overtake. No use in keeping extra overtake by the time you cross the line. Okay, and King letting us know in the comments that if the race finishes right now with these results as it is, that Whiteout will be the Drivers' Champion. And a well-deserved one as well. And what could have been a back-to-back championship, as he was in a very good position this time last season, just losing out from a big mistake. But performance-wise, he did everything he needs to do on track to secure the championship last season. A bit of a revenge campaign for this season, and so very good on Whiteout for getting it done, at least at this point in the race. It is not over yet, as Nuko's still right behind Whiteout. Just letting him know, yeah, I'm in your mirrors, keeping him company. He's been alone all race long, so it's very nice of Nuko to give him some company. Okay, that was an interesting camera angle there. Yeah, and the gaps increased a bit from P2 to P1. It was about 4.0 for quite a long time, but that has managed to increase back up about 7/10 in Whiteout's favor. I think Viper just kind of managing, just going to kind of hold on to this position at this point in time. I think the top three are all really comfortable where they're at, not going to try too hard here. Okay, interesting situation here with the lap traffic. Nuko putting the pressure on in the slipstream, going to make an overtake here. And I think Whiteout very wisely is just going to let him do it. He's probably not going to fight back too hard. That did cost him about 0.4 of a second to Viper behind. So this race is not over, but it does seem like with soft tires, we'll see what his tires look like real quick. But with soft tires, yeah, and they're still in really good shape. Nuko will have the pace advantage. So. Oh, and a bit of a slip there. It looked like he drifted into turn 5, but managed to just hold on to it. It cost Whiteout just a little bit of time, but not too much time. The gap is now under 4 seconds, but with only a couple of laps remaining, I don't think it'll be enough, even despite the little bit of help that Nuco just gave Viper. Kind of just checking down the field real quick, seeing how everyone is doing before we return back to our race and championship leader, Whiteout. And exiting just in the grass a bit there. Again, these guys are on the very, very limit. It doesn't matter how much of a lead they have. They push every lap, it seems. They are on the very limit. Extremely skilled driver. That gap is actually continuing to come down, so I think Viper saw the gap, jumped down, and sees, okay, maybe that's an opportunity for me. Maybe I can do something here. But he is running out of time very quickly. Now, the gap is coming down, but at the rate it's coming down, it's not quick enough. Unless a mistake happens, which is very possible, especially at this stage. You have an extremely light car right now, and a lightweight car with worn mediums, that can spell trouble. And the farther along we go, the more likely that mistake is to happen. Although these guys extremely consistent, not known for making big mistakes. But more than likely they will hold on. But, of course, it's never over until they cross the line and it's over. Yeah, really flirting with the track limits there is Whiteout. Managing to not pick up any track limit penalties. I have not seen a track limit penalty from any of these top guys, and that's extremely impressive considering just how close they're really pushing it. A very good line. We are now on our final lap, so we can go on board here. Yeah, I like the cockpit view. We are on board here with Whiteout, your race leader and driver's championship leader, on his final lap to glory. Oh, and a little snap there, and you could even see when he turned in with no gas applied how the rear was just wanting to step out, but he managed to hold on to it. An extremely feisty car at this point. It's still not over, as I said. It could, anything could happen still, but it does seem pretty comfortable. The gap increased back up to about 4 seconds. So here we are at the very fast hairpin, and taking it easy, not pushing it too hard there on the exit of the hairpin. Usually he pushes it a bit harder there, but being very smart, understanding the situation that this is the final lap, don't push too hard. And the final sets of corners here. Now the final corner. It is victory for Whiteout, and it is the championship for Whiteout. If the numbers are correct, it is a championship for Whiteout. He is now your Season 5 Drivers' Champion, if the math is correct. We will, of course, double check and make sure the standings are done very thoroughly, but your unofficial result, he is the unofficial Drivers' Champion at the moment. That will be confirmed in due time when we put out those standings. A superb race, not only this race but all season long. He's doing a great job. And Viper, of course, an absolute amazing drive, very consistent, managed to stay with them. He actually pretty much matched the pace of Whiteout the entire race, just having started about 4 seconds back. You know, starting however many positions back as well kind of hurt their chances for victory, but a very good race from Whiteout. Illusion as well, managing to fight back and take that podium position off of D Goats, who was doing a very consistent run himself. As we're watching the last couple of people come across the line here, we got Flaring Aces in the Toyota and Nuko in his Toyota. And he crosses the line, and that is everyone. So this race is now over. What a good race it was. You could tell this was a difficult race for these guys. It was a race of sheer driver skill to do this track as fast as they're doing it. All right. That was fantastic. And now we're going to take a look at the final results. Of course. Oh my. Okay. So this is something I didn't notice, because last I had checked, Illusion had the fastest lap of the race, but Boita comes in, and this isn't his first fastest lap of the race either this season. He's had at least, it was like 2 or 3 now. So extremely fast lap from Boita with a 28.8. Absolutely incredible lap. And so our finishing order here in P1 is Whiteout, P2, Viper, P3, Illusion to round off your podium finishers. Congratulations on the double podium there as well for EXO, AMR, and congratulations on the victory for Whiteout. Continuing on in P4, we have D-Goats. P5 is Boita, the 2 Porsches back-to-back. Then we have P6 and P7 is the 2 Toyotas and Flaring Aces and D-Goats. And then P8 and P9 is the 2 high-caliber cars of JD Killswitch and Artura. So it seems a very car race. Okay, a bunch of comments coming in. Yeah, Illusion saying in the chat here that he got some dirty air from Viper early on. I noticed that, and yeah, it was unfortunate. So it was good to have 2 cars in the fight strategically, but that's one of the potentialities of having 2 cars in the fight, is that there's a good chance that you guys are going to be dirty airing each other or holding each other up potentially, and a tiny bit of that, but ultimately I think it was actually really well orchestrated by the 2 EXO AMR cars overall in the race. Yeah, that was fantastic. Artura in the chat as well, saying that that hurt his pride. So it's understandable, but you know, this is the top class WEC, so no harm, no foul. It's just good for you guys to get in here and to get experience in the top class, nonetheless. And Illusion mentioning his strategy for the race. I definitely noticed that Illusion originally was going to be on a soft medium, just like most of the other runners too, but after having extended that first soft stint for track position, he ended up changing the strategy and went on to the mediums and doing his long run then. And I think it was a good choice to switch up the strategy between the 2 EXO AMR cars, especially at that point in the race, just so that you weren't so close together. And that is that for this race. And so I'll be posting the winner's graphic for Whiteout to the league's Instagram page. So go ahead and check it out and give us a follow there. That will be at Grand Prestige League. And if you're here, give us a like and subscribe on this YouTube channel, as well as we will be back here every week until the end of the season. And the next 2 weeks will be the finale of the season. It will be a rainy race at Suzuka for SWT next Sunday, so you're definitely going to want to watch that. And yeah, we will see you guys next time.